Hi, I'm Mary Hanula, Senior Director of Marketing here at Eulerity. I'm excited to present our 2025 Franchising Outlook, where we gave franchise leaders a platform to share their insights and expertise on key trends, challenges, and opportunities shaping the future of their respective industry vertical, as well as franchising as a whole. We asked hard-hitting questions and got in-depth answers on what it takes to stand out, be competitive, and foster compassion throughout an ever-changing landscape. Gain exclusive insight into overcoming economic uncertainty, leveraging technology for growth, attracting top talent in a competitive market, and the changing roles and responsibilities within the franchise model. In an increasingly digital world, how can franchise brands leverage technology to enhance the customer experience, streamline operations, and drive revenue growth? What are the most critical digital initiatives that franchisees should be prioritizing?
Just everything with AI and artificial intelligence and just technology, like developing so fast that we can't even, I feel like I can't even keep up with it. And so we expect our franchisees to keep up with it, and they need the knowledge, they need the education. So I think as a leader, being better at professional development for our franchisees is super important. We can't expect to be the experts. We're the expert in our brand and operations, but we need to be kind of at the cutting edge of AI. And it really has helped, us with marketing, really. And I love how Eulerity uses ChatGPT. But it's, you're doing things 100, if you have 100 locations, why have 100 people do the same thing? So automating as much as possible, which I believed in before, ChatGPT was out. Automating as much as you can for the franchisees so they can focus on growing their business because there are so many distractions. So that for me, I think is the key. That's one of our words this year is automation. So anywhere we can find that is great, whether it's, I admit I've used it in responses to emails where I'm like, I really don't know how to respond to this email in a tactful way. Let me just ask ChatGPT. As well as like the customer service, inventory management, streamlining operations, and obviously the marketing strategy piece. And one other thing I think is great is we have franchisees all over the country in about 30 different states, and they're all so different. And one of our huge things with AR Workshop is we're pretty flexible. We're a creative studio, so we need to allow people to our franchisees to be creative and understand their customer. And when they're coming up with a new concept, we use AI a lot to help them come up with marketing strategies. Like, how would you introduce, the prompt maybe, I have a market, here's my target audience, I have this product I want to offer, here's what we've offered in the past, and I'm only 2 years into business. How would you roll something like this out? And something that may take a whole team a week to come up with, you can do pretty instantly. So the key there, in a long-winded answer, is automation and AI.
Well, look, we know for facts, the data shows that Eulerity is a really important driver of traffic to the location pages on the Blow website, where customers then go to book their appointments. So getting more of our franchisees using Eulerity and building that business case so they understand why we're making that recommendation is really important for us. We know it's going to work for them, and it also enables us at the corporate level to have visibility into the marketing that our franchisees are doing. So that will continue to play an ever increasingly important role in 2025 as we work to enforce local marketing spend, etc. The other thing that we're exploring quite a bit is the use of AI and texting functionality in our locations. We know what a shame it is when a customer's call goes unanswered. So while we don't want to eliminate the high touch nature of our business and what gives us that competitive advantage, we want to make sure that we're supplementing that with the use of technology for communication with guests to ensure that we're getting those appointments, that we're able to sell those service upgrades, etc. So that's going to play an increasingly important role for us.
And as a company, we're working harder on our marketing to tell those stories now because, again, influencing more people to make that step to get over that. And listen, it's hard to start to work out, right? If you haven't worked out in 10 years ever, it's hard to make that leap. So part of our education is to start telling people, if you've never worked out, you can come and work out with us. Like the whole model is built on you can catch up and you will build up, and we're there to support you with our trainers. And the fact that we have TVs on the wall showing you is something that separates us from everybody else. So first things we did when I came in was really assess our digital footprint. And, we looked at our app, which needed to be redone, which we did, worked on that right away. Our website, was clunky, fixed that, modernize those two things right out of the gate. And then we started focusing on how are we telling our story, and forget about celebrities. And our celebrities are the people that work out in our studios. And we have, because people want to see people like them whose lives have improved and changed for the better. And that's so powerful. So I've really focused a lot with our amazing marketing team on telling those stories and getting people to step forward and want to be a part of the storytelling, because again, influencing people is a pretty powerful pulpit to speak from. So we don't take that lightly. So telling more of those stories is very impactful to our business, though, because again, when people see people really doing it, that's a winning combination. So and then we have to focus on just the basics of running a business with the franchisees. Their Google reviews, for example. Are they encouraging their members to tell their stories and engage on their social media platforms? Because everybody's calling has 150 followers on Instagram, for example. So you can get your members to like and share the posts and comment, and that all adds up. I always say in business, something I read years ago, it's 1,000 little things in business that make a difference every day, because every little thing helps. I mean, a good example, just last night I received I call it an out of office reply from an email from a franchisee. And, it was good, but it wasn't great. And they were missing some key things. So, I just sent it around to the team, including the franchisee, and said, here's some of my suggestions. And like, how do we make this better? And then let's take this template and do a before and after and show the team, this is how you should respond to somebody inquiring, for example, about joining. Like, they're missing 5 things right out of the box that they should be talking about with this touch point, because every touch point, especially in the beginning, is so critical. The more we empower people to tell their stories and engage with them, the more people we get in front of with our story. And our goal is to create a model nobody can ignore.
Continue to grow, you've got to innovate. But I think it really starts with understanding who your consumer is and making sure that you do research, you do surveys, because their preferences continue to change. You also have to have a solid understanding of what your value proposition is. And I think in today's world, I mean, we all know it, it's technology, AI, and it continues to grow and evolve. And, wrapping your arms around it with the platforms, with your digital, your website, CRM, it's just so critical. So companies are doing that. We're doing that. We're continuing to grow in that. And really, it's an opportunity to educate your franchisees on how to utilize this type of technology, because it can truly create efficiencies for them. I mean, besides, obviously, the partnership that we have with you and launching it in our digital platform, which we're really excited about, we're utilizing it in our training scripts, in our operations. Our franchisees are utilizing it when they do tours with their members. They're refreshing, some of the language. So it's part of educating our franchisees. So we're using it in the marketing platform as well as in our operations and training.
And we're doing some testing now. We're calling it Choose Your Way to Blaze. You can order online and pick up. You can order from a kiosk. You can order from a table with a QR code. So you're going to choose your way to Blaze. How do you want to interact with Blaze? And so will every restaurant have every one of these facets? Probably not, because is that cost prohibitive? Probably. But again, we have to pick our units to say, how do these folks at this particular corner of Main and Fifth want to be interacted with? How do these folks in the village over here want to be interacted with? How do these folks that are out in the suburbs want to be interacted with, for the most part? And so we want to be able to offer them those types of things, because there's times when I don't want to talk to someone and I want to walk in and I want to say, there's mine, that's my name, grab my bag, grab my pizza box and go, right? And that's okay. And sometimes I'm going to lunch with Mary and I want to sit down and let's talk about work. Let's talk about the next interview. Let's talk about what's coming down the pipeline, that type of stuff. So having those options is, I think, really, really important. And then it gets down to the size of the locations. You get into the footprints. You get into what does the store design look like? We're changing our store designs here to accommodate these types of things. Did stores need to be able to seat 60 people? No, not anymore, because half the people are getting it digitally or getting it to go. So can I shrink my footprint? Do I need to be in 2,000 square feet? Can I get into 1,700? Can I get into 1,400? Can I get into 1,000 square feet? That changes my leases. That changes my build-up costs. I mean, you can see all the ramifications, how the downstream of making these changes work. And I think, some folks that have done it really well in the past have different, I'll say different weapons in their arsenal. They've got bigger stores, smaller stores, delivery and carry out only stores, etc. And so having that flexibility with your brand, with your products, and with your people is huge, huge.
And, we take it as a starting point, and then obviously you change it and adapt it, and it may trigger ideas or inspiration, but it just gives you kind of that head start embracing it, because, and it goes back to Fran Dev too, right? Like, as you're interviewing franchisees, it's no longer like a franchise, open anyone, any age. Like, you really have to make sure your franchisee is willing to get up with technology and embrace it. From day one, I think that social media with our business model, because it is an experience and we can showcase it very visually, has been helpful. Using Eulerity, obviously, placing the ads, we don't have to guess how to reach people. We just tell them where we want to reach them. I think franchisees have a hard time because everybody's expected to dance on TikTok now. As a business owner, you're not just running the business, you're now a performer. And so for us, we're really trying to bring in younger, like interns and things like that, to do that hard stuff for us. Email marketing for us is big, and using a CRM and really targeting your message to the customer. We've all seen it, where you're searching for something and you're retargeted and you're like, how'd they know I was searching for that item? So embracing that is important. Otherwise, you just get lost in the shuffle and people are like, I'm not interested in that. Whether we're marketing a camp and people are like, I don't even have kids. Like, people can tell if you know about them and if it's a personalized message. So
with economic conditions fluctuating, how can franchise leaders effectively navigate uncertainty and position their brands for long-term success? What specific steps can they take to mitigate risks and capitalize on opportunities?
Our concept is hands-on classes to create home decor. So when COVID hit, obviously no one wants their hands anywhere near them. So we had to get super creative. And franchisors, they may have like 100 units. Their team may be somewhat small. So we had the ability to kind of be nimble and really shift quickly. And I don't know if anybody else feels this way, but we were trying anything at that point. We started offering DIY to go kits so people could craft at home, since we couldn't open up the workshop. And ever since 2020, we've seen a dip in that because people are obviously back out in the wild. But what we've seen change is just consumer behavior. There's so many distractions out there.
In terms of what the world looks like for the industry in 2025, I think 2024 was certainly a challenging year for a lot of brands, a lot of franchisors, a lot of their franchisees. I think there was certainly a lot of price sensitivity through the year, a lot of challenges arising from the higher borrowing costs that presented a headwind to new unit sales. Some brands experienced downward volumes with customers cutting back on discretionary expenses. I think that the election created a lot of uncertainty, which prevented some level of customer engagement, but more significantly on the front of new franchisees coming into systems. So I think everyone is excited in the industry to be going into 2025 with the election behind us and a little bit more clarity or growing clarity about what the world will look like. with borrowing costs having come down in anticipation of more of the same. So from a franchise development perspective, I think there's a lot of optimism there.
Right. So my efforts are, how do we continue to take what we have, which is an amazing product, and there were some stumbles with prior management, taking a company public and everything else, but the product is so good and our community is so strong. Like we've prospered from that and learned, and I've been an investor, and to come in and just fix all the top end stuff, the HQ stuff, and let the brand thrive is key. So for me, to answer your question more directly, like the stronger we make our brand and our community and the model, the stronger we make all of those things, we could survive anything. So, again, the strong survive. The harder we push, the more nimble we are, the more thrifty we are, the more we put our franchisees and members first. Because without them, HQ doesn't survive, right? So we have to, reverse the way it was before, where sell and forget. We're all about, support and grow for them. And that's how we win. So, could there be another COVID? Hopefully not in my lifetime, but, with competition, it makes you stronger. So we talked about growth in this category. Yeah, there's growth, but show me something that isn't, profitable and doing well that doesn't have competition. So we're going to have competition. We have a leg up, and we have many more locations than most folks. They all want to be us, and we have diversity because people aren't getting treadmill fatigue and rower fatigue at F45, for example. So we have a lot going on. We just added squat racks, what we call rigs, into our system. We're really promoting the recovery business. We're adding more elements to our core workouts with F45 still, with morphing into more lean muscle mass building. We've given our franchisees more options to pivot and be more creative in what days they want to use for strength training and cardio, for example, where just a year and a half ago that would have been don't change anything. I'm about, well, why are people trying to do that? Like, we should probably listen to them and find out why they're sneaking in squat racks, for example, and learn from that. And then now the science and the news is supporting, how important it is for 80-year-old females to be working on lower leg strength, or leg strength in totality, for mobility. They're talking a lot about things like creatine for cognitive strength and building lean muscle mass being the end all and be all for just mobility and longevity and quality of life, which is more important. And the fact that we are so welcoming to any age group and fitness level in any of our modalities is really gives us a lot of horsepower in this industry, because all of our concepts are on spot on trend. So we're not dragging along anything that doesn't work. Pilates is red hot. We have two amazing concepts there. So again, if something happens to the economy, you have to show value. And the one thing, you could argue all day long, the model about big box is sign you up and pray that that person doesn't show up, right? Their whole models would be broken in a day if everybody showed up one day who joined, right? Our model is pay. We want you to show up. That's how our model works. You're life changing and you improving your life with our trainers and our classes and our community pushing you along and supporting you. That's how we work. And that's always going to win. So if it's $50 a month or $200 a month, when you're getting results at $200 a month and you can't wait to get there, and your life is changing, and you're with a group of people that are there to support you, and you're being motivated to do better and stay in the program, that's worth it all day long. And I don't care what happens to the economy. When you affect people's lives the way we can, that's going to win all day long.
I believe that everyone's experiencing challenges with costs. So our franchisees bring members on board. Obviously, the more successful the members are to grow their business with the clients, the more successful our franchisees are. So they're able to set their pricing with their members and sign leases. And, obviously members set their pricing for their clients.
Then you throw just the economy and the struggles it's been in for the last 4 years. It's been difficult. The franchisees have become immensely resourceful in finding ways to cut costs, drive different top line revenue streams. But there's also a piece that you can't cut costs. You can't cut your way to prosperity, right? You've got to grow the top line. And there's so many more new concepts that are coming down the pipeline, right? And so there's a lot of different places for you and I to go to. And we really like Blaze Pizza. But now Blaze Pizza has 4 more, I'll say, different restaurants of competition in its same strip center within a mile or 2 radius. So what are we going to do to keep, that proverbial appetite for the folks in Blaze Pizza? And the innovation just can't stop. So obviously new menu items always help, but then you're back into what do these menu items cost, right? And how do I navigate those costs for my franchisees? There's a lot of deals that are happening right now. You can look at any restaurant and they have some sort of deal going on to help the consumer through these tough times. You can go to certain places and you're going to pay $18 for something, and you go to other places that are running deals and you'll pay $9 to $12 for something, right? And they're basically the same that we've been getting back when the economy was doing well, that everybody was happy with. And so finding those deals and making them positioned right for your consumer, for them to say, these guys are trying to help. They're trying to help us get through these challenging times. They're also having challenging times. Is a big piece of navigating these tough times. But also navigating the tough times is a great time to take a step back and look at all of your operations, all of the rocks that you can unturn, look under for ways of doing something different, being more efficient, being more scrappy, being more innovative, but also doing it in a way where it's cost effective. And the reason why is typically when things are good, people don't really challenge themselves. They're like, yeah, I've got good revenue coming through. I've got good dollars going to the bottom line. This is great. The restaurant's doing exactly what I want it to do. But that doesn't mean they're running things as best as they can be run. But they don't look at it because they're like, everything's great. Think of a student, I'm getting A's. And there's students that don't study that get A's. And there's students that study really hard and get A's. But when things get really, really hard and the students that didn't study, they don't know what to do, right? So they didn't get through the rock turning over and looking underneath all the, the proverbial rocks to see what's there. So I think it's a good opportunity to look at what you're doing. And again, we talked about, what's the future going to look like? What do you need to be positioned for when the economy changes? We know these things come through in cycles. We have another new president coming in that's got a background and a track record of having a good economy. Does that mean that's going to happen? I don't know. Does that mean that's going to happen the day his term arrives? I would think not. I mean, there's a churn here. You got to turn the Titanic to get to where things are probably good again. And so you got to prepare for these things, and everybody talks about preparing for that rainy day and stuff like that. So I think if you could take the time to look at your operations and look at your procedures and challenge your franchisor to help you to navigate what's happening, but really navigate what's the future look like. So when the tide does change, you are literally, slingshotting yourself ahead because you've already done the work. You've already put things into motion because you're sitting there saying, hey, this might be a time for me to add a drive-through. Yes, times are tough, but if I can get this drive-through through, when the times change, I am going to be so much further ahead of the curve because people are going to want to be served this way. People are used to getting it a certain way. Whatever those things may be, if you can take advantage of those times. What's also good is in these tough times is lease obligations. And these guys that own these buildings that are leasing them out are also having a tough time, right? Because people aren't expanding, people aren't growing. well, this could be a good time to get into a piece of property that you might get a great deal on, right? Because they haven't had someone in that spot, and you know that that spot's going to be what you want it to be when this tide turns. So there's some positive things that can happen. But what I do see that really, concerns me is we go back to that cost cutting to prosperity. You'll see it in the big box stores. You'll see it in the restaurants. You'll see where the staff has been cut. And then what happens? Mary, your and I experience changes. And all of a sudden, we don't like the experience anymore going to the big boxes or going to any restaurant. And now it's changed. And you're looking at it going, wow, I used to get this, this, and this. I used to at least get good service. And now I'm not even getting that because they've cut their costs to save so they can make money. And so you kind of got this proverbial dog chasing his tail, right? Its tail. And, I would really consider looking at your operational models very heavily before I started cutting labor costs, because that's the experience. At the end of the day, we can be as technologically advanced as we think we are, ordering online, all these different things. But at the end of the day, nothing beats a smile and someone coming in and enjoying the experience from another human being. It's insurmountable. And I think it's even more important now because we've been, I'll use the word locked down. It's not probably the best word, but we've been, not able to interact with people. We've been put into these kind of boxes that we don't have the interactions that we used to have. And I think people are missing that.
Economy, with rent being high, we came up with a concept that's almost like the food truck of crafting. So it's our new Crafty Cruiser. So now we have two different business models, and it's like two hybrid models, I guess you could say. Franchisees can open a brick and mortar. They also could open a Crafty Cruiser, which goes off site. So we can visit, we're not confined by four walls anymore. We can go to a clubhouse that seats 200 people, or we can go to people's houses and do a party there, a craft party there, or a school. So now we have this advertisement on wheels, and people love that experience. They love this customized experience of this vehicle showing up. We bring all the supplies to you, and we provide the experience, and you don't have to go anywhere. So our franchisees love it because they've always been able to do offsite events, but now they have this whole marketing machine and more tailored offerings that are doable for offsite. You don't want to bring a huge messy project to someone's house. But it's more appealing for a lot of customers because it's hard to get a group together to be in one place at one time. Things like festivals and different types of holiday markets have been huge for us this year. So we're really excited about that.